Whew, this is going to be a long video, guys. Whew, this is going to be glorious. I'm just getting ready. Today on Twitter, I came across this glorious list, top 10 greatest athletes of all time. And boy, I immediately started writing down notes. As you can see, I have two full pages. Maybe you cannot really see because my camera is still trash, but it is what it is. I apologize for that. Two full pages, right? I have a lot that I agree with, and I have a lot that I disagree with, which is perfectly fine. It's a list, right? The first thing I want to mention, it's really interesting to see Serena Williams at number nine because today I ran a poll related to Serena Williams. The link to the poll will be down in the description box. Who is better? Disregarding genders, pretend that they are the same gender, Serena Williams or Roger Federer. And I ran that poll strictly because when Roger Federer was number one in the GOAT list, right? 310 weeks at number one, 20 Grand Slams. It was all about stats. And it was nothing about WTA. Not a single mention about female tennis players. Nobody talked about that. Nobody talked about Margaret Court and Serena Williams and Steffi Graf and all those records who were above Roger Federer's records, right? But as soon as Novak broke Federer's records, we started talking about like Margaret Court's brought up from the dead, Steffi Graf, Serena Williams, all those records. And what you get is like really interesting because what you get is Novak breaking all of those records plus the WTA record. So Novak is on top, Federer is here, and then you have some girls in the middle, right? Who are actually closer to Novak than Federer. So technically, if you go by the stats, Serena Williams is better than Roger Federer. So it's kind of an interesting debate, and I'll talk about tennis a little bit later on, how many tennis players should be on this list. Who is the GOAT of tennis? Who should be on this list? It's an interesting debate, but I'm not going to bore you because maybe you're not here because of tennis, right? We're talking about overall athletes. And if you look at the list, you have two soccer, football association football players, right? Actually, not ranked number one and number two. You have two boxers. You have two basketball players. You have a cricket player. You have a I'm checking my notes, of course. You have a tennis player, of course. We talked about that. You have a swimmer, an aquatics individual, an aquatics athlete, and you have a athletics a runner slash 100 200 meter athlete runner, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so the first thought is what missed out on the list? What should be on this list? Is there a sport that has too many athletes on the list? Is something unnecessary on the list? And first of all, I want to give credit to the guy who made this list, to the girl who made this list. Thank God you didn't put in Tiger Woods because look, no disrespect to Tiger Woods, but I've seen so many lists that has Tiger in top 10. And to me, if you have a sport in which you have multiple guys, like maybe once in a blue moon you have a freak of nature like Tom Brady who's winning at 45, but that's different because he's the most protected guy in the field, so I understand that, right? Maybe once in a million you have a guy at 45 winning tournaments. But here you have multiple champions. Tiger Woods, how old is Phil Mickelson? Is he like 57, something like that? He's still winning tournaments. Like, if you have professionals, I mean, at 57, and I'm aware you have some drivers at Le Mans, 24 hours of Le Mans, who are driving at the age of 60 or something like that, but they are not competitive. They are not good. Like, they would never in a million years make it at F1. Like, not even a test session in F1, right? It's completely different. If you have a sport that has, guys at 50 winning tournaments, maybe that sport shouldn't be on a list of such a magnitude, like top 10 greatest athletes of all time, because might as well put in Ronnie O'Sullivan, right? I love Ronnie O'Sullivan. Ronnie O'Sullivan is one of my favorite sport athletes of all time. But I will never make an argument that Ronnie O'Sullivan should be on a list because right now I think he's also born in 75 like Tiger Woods. So he should be like 48, 49 years old and he should never be on the list. Like I don't care how many world championships does he have, like he should never be on this list. Might as well put in WWE guys like Undertaker. He was wrestling at 50. Stone Cold Steve Austin, like Dwayne The Rock Johnson, like John Cena, like might as well. But it's not. Those guys shouldn't be on this list. Okay, next one. Okay, winter sports because you have it's interesting because you have sports that are participated in on the land, right? You have sports that are, held in the water, aquatics. So I'm totally agreeing with Michael Phelps being on this list, and I think that Michael Phelps should be higher because of the magnitude of his success. Michael Phelps has won the most gold medals in history. He won more gold medals than that guy from ancient Greece. I think there was this weird stat that he broke. I forgot his name. There was this guy like 2,500 years ago who won like a shit ton of gold medals, and Michael Phelps broke that, so that was kind of cool. Um, he should be totally on this list. Like he should totally be on this list. No arguments whatsoever. And then you kind of think about winter sports and should the the greatest winter sports athlete of all time be on this list, and you kind of start thinking about, well, who's that? Ski jumpers are kind of inconsistent. You're probably going to have to go with an alpine skier. And therefore you may go with Marcel Hirscher, eight-time World Cup champion, multiple-time world champion, Olympic champion, whatever. Might go with Mikaela Shiffrin, who is, I think, right now only 28, 29. Like, she broke all of Lindsey Wonn's record. I think she right now has 92 wins. I used to be a great, like a giant winter sports fan, but I kind of stopped watching. So yeah, Mikaela Shiffrin, especially in 5 years, will have a great argument. But then when you kind of think about winter sports, I mean, guys from Africa or girls from Africa, I mean, cannot really participate. South America, same. Like, it's kind of like a niche sport. Maybe you're from Norway, Sweden, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, France. Even if you're from Spain, you're hardly going to participate. Even if you're from China, you're hardly going to participate, or Japan or something like that. So, I mean, it's really not developed. It's like basically 10 countries that are participating in winter sports. So I totally agree with the fact that, yeah, and also it's I mean, it's contested for 4 months, so that's another factor. For example, tennis, you play tennis the whole year, you play football the whole year, you're playing winter sports for like 4 months from November to March. So it's understandable that, let's say, Mikaela Shiffrin is not on this list, or Marcel Hirscher. Now, when it comes to niche sports, we have football, right? Football is, I mean, football, NFL, participated in or played in basically one country, America, and technically Canada, whatever. You have great, great athletes in football, and I know that a lot of you will, say, well, Tom Brady should be in this list, and Tom Brady has a case. Like, this guy was playing well until the age of 45. Yes, he was maybe slightly washed, but I mean, at 45, yes, protected position, but you're still taking hits. And he was a mastermind. He doesn't have the greatest, like, arm talent. He doesn't make the plays like Patrick Mahomes does, or Aaron Rodgers. But I mean, he was the both of being like sort of like a coach, manager, precision passer, athlete, leader of men, at the same time. So, there is some argument there. But again, that season is really short. It's only 4 months, 5 months if you're playing the playoffs. And, only guys from America play it. Nobody from Africa plays it. Nobody from Europe. Yes, I know that maybe there are like 8 players from England in the NFL, or from Germany or something like that. Nobody from China plays it. Nobody from Asia plays it, or whatever, South America. So, you would have some difficulties adding Tom Brady on this list. When it comes to Formula One or motorsports, I think that's even worse, because even if you're from Germany, you can't just be like, oh, I'm a 10-year-old child. I want to drive F1 cars, right? I want to go to karting. I want to, like, fucking drive F4 cars or whatever. You have to be upper middle class to afford a karting car, or just a kart car. I don't know how to say that. And then, to find sponsors, to go through all of that, to be talented enough to overcome the lack of financial uh situation, or whatever they said. It's really difficult. It's truly a niche sport. For example, Max Verstappen's father was in F1, Jos Verstappen, so that's why he started off really early. Mick Schumacher, Michael Schumacher, Carlos Sainz Jr. is related to Colin Sainz Senior. I don't think that's his father, or is it his father or uncle? I'm not really sure. The guy who's winning all those rallies, whatever. So, I mean, yeah, motorsports, it's really tough. You can argue from Michael Schumacher, Ayrton Senna, Lewis Hamilton, maybe even Max Verstappen in 5 years. But yeah, it's you would really be kind of hypocritical towards a lot of people who can never participate in such a sport. Now, when it comes to cycling, I low-key feel like cycling should maybe be on this list, because I can imagine myself being a football player. If I would like start playing football at 5, I would be probably like a decent football player if I would be like talented or whatever. I could play like in second Serbian league and fix matches, whatever, and get a decent salary off of that. If I was born in America, maybe if I was like 6'2", 6'3", I could play quarterback. If I was like 6'5", maybe I could play basketball. Like, I can imagine myself playing a lot of sports if I was start early. But for me to be a cyclist, it's just like, could never imagine that. Like, it is probably the most underrated, the most difficult sport of all time. And it's really funny because all I think of is like, oh, this guy's on drugs. Bro, it's like you're driving 3,500 kilometers, middle of the summer in fucking France. You're like dying from heat and then climbing up to like 2,500 meters. You don't have fucking oxygen to breathe. And you're like, oh, this guy's on fucking drugs. Like, of course he's on drugs. Like, that's not made for humans. Like, the Tour de France is not constructed for human beings. Like, that is the most, I mean, I cannot imagine myself driving the Tour de France. 40-kilometer plus hour average across 3 weeks, middle of summer in France, and then climbing up the mountains and descending like 90 kilometers per hour, risking your life. I mean, cyclists are something else. So I respect the shit out of cyclists. And when you have to make an argument, well, who's the greatest cyclist of all time? Of course, Lance Armstrong has a strong argument, but because of the whole EPO thing, the PD thing, he's kind of out of it. The thing about Eddie Merckx from the 60s and 70s, he was, most likely also on that juice. And it's kind of interesting because I don't know how many of you actually watch cycling. So cycling has different type of races. The Tour de France is the greatest race. It is a 3 week race, and basically you have a stage every day, and then the accumulated time adds up, and the guy who has the least amount of time spent on the France's roads is basically the winner, right? But you have different races. You have 1 day races, you have like 3 day races, you have 1 week races, you have the Tour of Italy, the Giro d'Italia, which is a 3 week race. It is held in May. You have the Vuelta a España, which is held in late August, September in Spain. It is also a 3 week race. You have classics, which are 1 day races. You have World Championships, which is also 1 day race. You have individual time trial World Championships, which is also 1 day race. So you have different things, right? And when it comes to Lance Armstrong, he was the best at the best. Like he was the best at winning the Tour de France, but he was basically ignoring every single one of the races. Like he was never racing the Giro d'Italia, he was never racing the Vuelta a España, he was never racing the Tour de France, the Paris Roubaix, the World Championship. Yes, I think he won the World Championships in like '93. Yes, I know that I'm like speaking too fast. Um, but I'm just trying to get off the thing that I'm trying to say. So Lance Armstrong was the best at the best, but he was not racing other races. For example, you have Tadej Pogacar right now, double Tour de France champion, 2 times the second in Tour de France. He's racing and he's winning actually, not only racing, he's winning the Tour of Flanders. He's like doing well at Vuelta a España. He's participating in world championships. He's winning the Liège, Baston Liège, the Il Lombardia. So he's winning all of these races. Plus, he's always in the top two when it comes to Tour de France. So in 10 years, Tadej Pogacar definitely has an argument to be on the top 10 greatest athletes of all time if he continues being this good. I mean, this kid is ridiculously good. I think he's like 26 years old right now. So, I mean, watch out for Tadej Pogacar from Slovenia. I mean, he is ridiculously good. What I mean, these Slovenians, like, holy shit. I mean, they have so many great athletes right now, and only like they have like 2 million people living there. So basically a small American state, and like, wow, ridiculous. Okay, let's just continue. So I think I ran out when it comes to sports that didn't really make a list. So let's talk about the sports that kind of made the list. And I disagree with having two boxers. I think the problem with having two boxers is box is such a I know it's the most popular or used to be the most popular combat sport, but to have a niche sport, I mean, you're basically only allowed to punch. That's like if you're playing basketball, you're only allowed to, have layups or something like that. You're only allowed to shoot 3 pointers. I think MMA, although it's a young sport, it's a 30-year-old sport, or, technically you have pancration in like ancient Greece or ancient Rome, whatever. But MMA is a young sport, but MMA is much more complete. You're fighting. You're not just punching. Like you're fighting. Yes, I know that box is an art and movement and all that, tactics and strategy and all that. But in MMA, you have wrestling, you have takedowns, you have takedown defense, you have fighting on the cage, you have knees, elbows, everything, punches. Like you have everything, grappling, jiu-jitsu. You mix everything, and that's the beauty of fighting because you're truly fighting. There's only a couple of things that's not allowed, like poking in the eyes, hitting in the balls, uh, kneeing somebody, kneeing a downed opponent. That's pretty much it. So to me, to have two boxers on the list, it's kind of like too much. And then who you should leave out, like I'm not going to pretend here that I know a lot about Muhammad Ali. I'm not going to pretend that I saw Muhammad Ali because I didn't. I didn't. So I know that you old heads are going to say, well, Muhammad Ali is the greatest of all time, and of course, the political thing and all that. To me, Mike Tyson is maybe unnecessary on the list, and I would put actually Jon Jones there, maybe. The reason why I would put Jon Jones, and I know that a lot of people will immediately say, so if you don't know who Jon Jones is, he is arguably the greatest MMA fighter of all time. He has one loss, and that one loss was because of disqualification. He was kicking this guy's ass. I think it was Hamel, and he did this like 12 to 6 elbow, which means that you're not allowed to hit a guy like this. You're allowed to hit a guy like this, but not this. And he did this, and he was disqualified. The thing about Jon Jones is, he hit a pregnant woman with a car and left the scene. He was arrested multiple times. He got popped for steroids and he got popped for cocaine. And you say, well, that's like shit. Like he cannot be on this list. But then if you compare that to Mike Tyson, this guy bit off Evander Holyfield's ear, admitted that he was, on coke when it comes to every single fight, and had a shit ton of controversy. So when it comes to like controversy slash drugs, you have no argument for Tyson versus Jon Jones. The only argument you can make, because Mike Tyson had losses, the only argument you can make for Mike Tyson, in my opinion, that he was scarier, like he was frightening. But if you look at Jon Jones, maybe it's not frightening. Like maybe that guy, when you see Jon Jones in the street, you're like, okay, just a big guy, whatever. It's not frightening. But if you look at some of his fights, if you look at Jon Jones versus Lyoto Machida, go check that out if you don't know who Jon Jones is. The finish, like he chokes this guy out and he just drops him. Like this guy's like fucking choked out, right? He's drops him and he's like the body just drops down like he's dead. And he just like walks away like a psychopath. I watched that shit live. I thought this guy was dead. Like, I thought he killed him. Like, he choked him out dead. Like, you're like, what the fuck? And he just walks out. Like, choked him out. Dead. It is what it is. DC Daniel Cormier versus Jon Jones Part 2. The finish. That was biblical. That was like gladiator shit. He sets up the high kick. He kicks him right here. Then he trips him like a true warrior slash psychopath slash fighter. Like he trips him while he losing his balance. He knees him next to the cage, and then he finishes him off. Like that shit is. I mean, that's some psycho shit. Like Jon Jones, in his peak. And you can talk about GSP, you can talk about Khabib, you can talk about Anderson Silva, but I think Jon Jones is the best because he's best at everything. Like he's going to strike with you if you're going to try to wrestle with him. He's going to wrestle you because you're going to strike with him. He's going to mindfuck you. He has the best starts. Like you can talk about PEDs, you can talk about all that shit, cocaine and hitting pregnant women, but Jon Jones. But I understand if you want to put in a boxing guy because MMA is a young sport and all that shit. So okay. When it comes to the second spot, because I think that one spot should be reserved for an MMA slash boxing guy, I think the second spot should be for either a weightlifter or the strongest man alive, right? So you have the fastest man alive in Usain Bolt. You have the greatest swimmer of all time in Michael Phelps. Totally agree with those two. And then why do you not have the strongest man alive? Like, why do you not have, what's the guy's name? Lasha. I wrote it down. Lasha. Where are you, Lasha? He's from Georgia. Lasha Talakhadze. Lasha Talakhadze. Uh, he set the world record in clean and jerk and the first, I don't know how to say that shit. So clean and jerk is this. Snatch, yeah, snatch. So basically, he has lifted more kilograms than any human being ever above his head. Like ever. You're talking about the strongest man of all time. Maybe like I don't even think that like 1,000 years ago there was this like beast who could lift more than Lasha Talakadze. I really truly don't believe in that. So I think that that guy should be on this list. He's the I don't know how many times Olympic champion. I don't know how many times world champion. I know he's a world record holder. He lifted more than anybody ever did. He should be on this list. You can argue for what's this guy named Zydrunas Savickas from Lithuania, who's the strongman goat of all time. The Halftor Bjornsson, yeah, Thor from Game of Thrones. I don't know if I said his name correctly. The guy who basically is doing that stuff, lifting stones and all that shit. So Zydrunas Savickas, if I said his name correctly, is the GOAT in that discipline. So you can argue that he should be on this list because he's arguably the strongest man of all time. He's not just lifting weights above his hand, he's carrying weights, he's throwing weights, he's doing everything that's related to heavy stuff. So you can definitely say that that guy should be on this list. So I think one guy should be a combat fighter and the other guy should be a strongman or weightlifter or something like that. Okay, so let's kind of go through the list. Michael Phelps, I totally agree. I think he should be higher in this list. Serena, look, I I think that they kind of put Serena there because they had to put in a woman, right? I don't disagree with Serena being there. If you think about tennis, like what is the scariest thing in tennis, right? Rafael Nadal at Clay of French Open. What is the second scariest thing in tennis? Novak probably best in five. Like you're just scared to shit. You can be up two to nothing. You're going to lose. Like Novak best in five. Any service. But then you have Serena, right? It used to be Roger Federer at Wimbledon, but Novak beat him three times, so you cannot really argue for that. So you have Serena, bro. Serena, when she's on, she's going to kick your ass. You can be world number one. She's going to bagel you. She's going to beat you 6-0, 6-1. Like some of those Sharapova Williams matches, like bro, she destroyed Sharapova. Sharapova used to be world number one. Like she's like a five-time Grand Slam champion. She used to kick her ass. Like she used to destroy her. At least with Novak, you kind of feel like you have a chance at a certain point. You're playing like 50-50 points, something like that. But when Serena's playing, like when she's on, Jesus. So I don't disagree with Serena. I think she's the greatest female athlete of all time. I'm glad that they don't put in like Simone Biles or some football player because Serena is much better than them. So I don't hate Serena being there, but if you're going to put Serena at nine, you have to put Novak at eight. Novak is just slightly better. I think you have to put Novak at eight. Okay, and leave somebody else out. LeBron at eight. Look, so again, you have two basketball players. I'm not going to argue that Jordan or LeBron or who's better. I'm only going to say that I was too young to witness Michael Jordan, and I'm witnessing LeBron James now. And LeBron James has been a freak of nature for 20 years. LeBron James has had pressure on him since day one. This guy was the number one prospect. This guy was supposed to be the GOAT from number one, and he never underachieved. So many guys. I mean, think about Zion Williams. Zion Williams was the greatest prospect since LeBron James. Right now, Zion is fat and fucking porn stars. You know, like LeBron never slipped up. He never, had baby mamas. He never did drugs. He never crashed his car. He never got arrested. He never did some shit that's bad. Like, he's never like fucking hookers or something. Like, never fucking porn stars. Like, LeBron on and off the court. I mean, when it comes to the pressure, when it comes to the expectations, and yes, you're going to have haters like Skip Bayless is always going to say that MJ is better than LeBron is like number nine of all time, some shit like that. But LeBron, man, for 20 years straight, he didn't have a major injury. Right now, I mean, I think 2 years ago he pulled his groin or something like that, and then he hurt his ankle. But to be that consistent, that good, to average 25 plus points since year two all the way to year 21, I mean, that is in the most difficult league in the world with shit players, with good players in Cleveland, in Miami, in LA, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, LeBron, I mean, if we're playing aliens and we're playing any sport, like just the aliens came to Earth and they invented the sport, I'm sending LeBron James. Like he's 6'9", 250. He's 2 meters 6 centimeters and 117 kilos. I don't know the exact number. He's a athlete. Like LeBron James deserves to be on this list. And of course, you can make arguments for Jordan. But if personally I'm picking, and if there's only one spot for a basketball player, I'm picking LeBron James. Simply because he's like he is a beast. Like he's an athlete. I already talked about Mike Tyson. Usain Bolt, look, um, I know his career didn't last that long. He's basically 8 years from 2008 to 2016. You can argue it was longer. And the thing about 100-meter dashes is like basically you're going to run one event per year. You're going to run the World Championships and then you're going to run Olympics, right? And actually, there's going to be a leap year when you're not running shit. You're basically running in the diamond, right? And Usain Bolt kind of became that towards the end of his career. He wasn't like running; he was like running 9.9 sometimes in a year in which doesn't have like a World Championships or Olympic Games, and then he shows up at the Olympics and wins. But this guy broke the world record. You had guys who were doing horse steroids. I mean, dying. I mean, fucking dying, running much, much slower than Usain Bolt, who was banging his chest, looking around in Beijing 2008, Bird's Nest Stadium. slowing down before the finish line and breaking the world record. Like that is like that's like Lasha Talakhadze. I don't know how to say his name. Lifting 270 kilos and like yeah, it's it's just. I mean, you had to witness that. Like that's like LeBron James dunking from the 3-point line. I mean, I don't know how to compare that. And then 1 year later, he broke his record again, 9.58. Nobody came close to that in the fastest race of all time because Tyson Gay ran a 9.71. He would have won the gold medal any year, basically. And Usain Bolt ran a 9.572 or 9.58 rounded up, while also kind of slowing down towards the end. So he could have easily ran 9.55. And then you think about, well, could have he, I mean, possibly run under 9.5? I mean, was that a possibility? Did he ever do it in like this or something like that? Did he ever take that shit seriously? Not to mention that he broke all the record at 200 meter too. Like he ran a 1919. Ridiculous. I mean, Usain Bolt, you had to witness it. Like out of all the features, you can talk about Phelps, you can talk about Novak, you can talk about LeBron, you can talk about all the athletes. You had to witness it. That is so special. I mean, fastest, strongest, best swimmer. It's just like you had to witness that. That I don't have words for that. Number five is Virat Kohli. I think the pronunciation is Kohli. You kind of ignore the H. I do not speak Indian. Anyways, he's a cricket player, and I have to admit, I watched some 2020 cricket, like maybe 10 years ago. It was on Eurosport. It was kind of fun. I actually enjoyed it. But I have no idea. Like, I know that like cricket is played for days. There's like a weird format. I really know. Like, I kind of know what you need to do. You want to hit sixes, and you have the wicket. It kind of works like baseball, but the ball bounces, and it's kind of different, but it's similar to baseball in a way. And the bat is much wider. Um, so I do not have an opinion on Virat Kohli. If he's the GOAT of cricket, he certainly deserves to have a shot because cricket is played in India and India has a shit ton of people. So therefore, there's going to be heavy competition there. And also, in cricket is played in England. But again, it's not played in some countries like the African countries, the most of the Asian countries, right? I don't think cricket is played in China. I'm not really sure. I know it's played in Pakistan, right? South America also is probably not known for cricket. And then you kind of argue that, well, could there be a baseball player that's perhaps better than Kohli? And then you kind of think about baseball and you ran into a problem. Well, the greatest baseball player, in my opinion, was Barry Bonds, who did steroids. And then if you ignore, like Barry Bonds, like I haven't watched him, but I watched some highlights and I ran through his stats, and this guy broke the home run record while nobody was really pitching to him. That's like that's like, I don't know, if you would score like 100 goals in a season, while there's like two defenders on you all the time, and you still score like 100 goals. Like, fuck it. Like, I'm just going to score. I'm just going to get that one ball, and I'm going to score all the time. Like, top left corner all the time. I'm just going to score. So that's ridiculous. Like that's ridiculous. But he did steroids. And then if you ignore that, do you really want to include Babe Ruth, who played baseball 100 years ago? Like Babe Ruth both pitched and both played a batter, right? He also was batting, and he had a great batting average. He had I think the third most home runs in baseball history, 714, if I'm not mistaken. So you can definitely argue for Babe Ruth, but the competition in 1920s, like it's just it's completely different. And right now you actually have Showtime, Shohei Ohtani, who's both pitching and batting, which is really unique nowadays. Because as you pretty much know in baseball, you're either a pitcher or you're either a batter, and he's doing both, and he's doing both great. So maybe in 10 years, if his career pans out to be great, although right now I think he has to have a Tommy John surgery. I'm not really sure, but I think he fucked up his elbow. Um, like maybe he makes an argument if he keeps going, but there is plenty of time to go. And I don't think that he's that young. Yeah, he's not like super young prospect. I think he was like 27, 28 years old. I'm not really sure. Anyways, I think I have nothing to say about Kohli. Like, if he's that good, like honestly, I have no opinion because as I mentioned, I haven't really watched him. I already talked about Jordan. I sort of kind of talked about Muhammad Ali, and what should or should not be on the list. And then we have Ronaldo and Messi. So, right, soccer is the most global sport, right? Obviously. So there is an argument that at least two guys should be on the list because everybody plays football, right? Everybody plays soccer. Europe, Asia, South America, America, North America, Central America, Africa, everybody plays football, right? So two guys is not a big deal. Um, I don't like. I'm a Messi fan. I might be biased. I think Messi's better than Ronaldo. But the problem with Messi is that he really doesn't play defense. Like he does magic, but he's not like. I mean, he's like 5'8". Like he's just like maybe that's why he's unique. Like he's 5'8" and is the greatest soccer player of all time. Like it's just ridiculous when you think about it. Like, but if you look at Messi and you look at LeBron, you're like, fuck. I mean, LeBron's an athlete. Messi is just like a guy. You know. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. But I want to say what I want to say about defense is like Messi is just kind of like standing there, waiting for something to happen, scanning the field. Not that it's a bad thing, but he's not like engaged in defense. He's waiting for the ball, and then something happens with Messi. With Ronaldo, it's kind of same. He's not really playing defense. Ronaldo is an athlete. He looks great, and I think most of the Ronaldo fans are Ronaldo sexual, and they're sexually attracted to him, which is fine. It is what it is. He's great, but I think Messi's better. But then again, this guy doesn't play defense. So, I mean, it's kind of difficult for me because the greatest soccer player is always going to be the guy who scores the most goals. But to me, the art of football is to know everything. You know how to defend, you know how to pass, you know how to play with your head, you know how the game works, you know the psychology of the game, you know how to score goals. So I think maybe somebody from the midfield should be on this list. But then, like who? It's just kind of weird. And their longevity is great. I mean, Ronaldo's best argument on this list is his longevity and his hunger. Because this guy still wants to be the best. This guy still scored the most goals in 2023. Like, yes, I know it was Saudi League, but Saudi League is getting better. And this guy still wants to win. He still has the hunger. While Messi is kind of like, well, I won the World Cup. I'm just chilling with my children in Miami. I'm in Florida. I'm kind of semi-retired. I have this like bald bodyguard, guarding me and something like that. I'm eating cheeseburgers. I don't really fucking care. So, um, you know, what I'm trying to say that both of these guys maybe have some flaws in a certain way, and in theory, you can perhaps be a better player. Maybe Pele should be listed. Of course, I didn't watch Pele, and it was a different time and all that. But it's I don't like the fact that Messi is number one, Ronaldo is number two. That's all I'm trying to say. I don't disagree with having two football players, but to have number one and number two right now, who are playing right now, it's kind of it is what it is. Anyways, so here's my list, right? I would definitely have LeBron. I don't have a particular order because it's impossible. I don't have a particular order. Okay, so I would definitely have LeBron. I would have Messi, and then I would have Jon Jones. Like, I know you're going to disagree with me. You're probably going to put Muhammad Ali. Might as well put in Floyd Mayweather. Like, he never lost. I don't know. Like, I really know. So a certain combat sport athlete, Jon Jones. Um, Kohli is fine. I cannot come up with a better baseball player. Lasha Talakhadze, the guy lifted more than anybody. Michael Phelps, totally agree. I think he should be higher than 10. Serena Williams is fine. Novak Djokovic, he has to be if Serena's there. And then Ronaldo, kind of towards the bottom of the list. And then there's somebody else. Oh yeah, Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt. So if I have to go with number one, maybe Usain Bolt. Like it's speed, right? It's so fascinating. The 2008 world record, the 2009 world record. I know he didn't run for a lot, but that's just so fascinating. Like that is absolutely fascinating. I think Messi, maybe number two, my number three, number four. I'm not really sure. I think LeBron should be up there. You can make an argument for Michael Jordan instead of Ronaldo if Ronaldo is towards the bottom of the list. If you want to disclude women, you can put both Ronaldo and Michael Jordan there. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You can really make a ton of arguments. Anyways, hopefully you like the video. Wow, 34 minutes. Okay. Well, it's unedited. It is what it is. I don't know how start editing videos soon when I get the camera. I always say that I'm gonna get the camera soon, but I never do. So, hopefully I'll get the camera in like 2, 3 weeks. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you and bye.